Hello, my name is Kieran Rao, and this is a video tutorial on installing open intent apps into your Android development environment. This is part 2 of a tutorial series on creating screencasts for open intent Android apps. Before we begin, I will assume that you have watched the previous video in the series. In that video, we covered how to install Eclipse, the Android SDK, the Android ADT, and the Android platform. I will also assume that you have a basic understanding of computer programming. Now, there are two ways of getting open intent apps, or any Android apps, onto your virtual device. The first way is to download the source code and compile it. This is how you do it if you're a developer or a tester, but it's relatively complicated and I've encountered a few errors. The second way is significantly easier. All you have to do is take the APK file and install it into the emulator. We can download the APK files or compiled app files from the Open Intent website. Then copy it into the Android Tools folder. Now, if you're running Windows 7, there are tools that are missing that are required for this process. I don't know why they left it out, but they're easy enough to download. Here at the Open Intent website, all we have to do is go into the applications. Do not select the libraries or SDKs. And for this demo, we're going to use the file manager, so just click and it'll download. Now, you will also need the ADB, or Android Developer Bridge. I've put a link in the video description, and you just have to paste it into the URL, and it should download. Once the files have been downloaded, you need to navigate to where you installed the Android SDK and go into the Tools folder. Now, what you're going to do is copy the APK file into the Tools folder, as well as copy all the files inside the ADB. Installing the app onto the virtual device is fairly simple, but requires some work with command line. What we need to do is create a virtual device, then after the virtual device is started, open a command line in the Tools folder. Use the ABD install function to install the app onto the virtual device. Here in Eclipse, we need to go to Windows and then AVD Manager and create a new virtual device. We'll call it Test Device. And we'll have it under the Android 4.0.3. I'll give it a 50 megabyte SSD, and I'll decrease the RAM size to 256 because I find it runs better. Then create AVD and launch it. Now, the AVD may take a little while to start. Now that our virtual device is done loading, we need to go into a command line to our Tools folder. Here, and then type in the command adb install filemanager.1.1.6.apk. And File Manager should be installed. To check to make sure it's installed, go into the virtual device and see File Manager is now installed. After you have the emulator running with your app, you can start your screencasting. There are two ways you can do this. The first way is DDMS. This is a tool that comes with Android and as the Delvic Debug Monitor Service. The problem with this tool is that it can only take screenshots, and it's sometimes very slow. The other option is to use your own screen capture device. I'm using Microsoft Expression Encoder for these videos, and it's working fine with the emulator. Now we still have our test device open. We can go into Eclipse, under Window, Open Perspective, Other, and select DDMS. Here we're able to select this emulator and then go into the screen capture. Now this may not respond, but if you see here, it's captured the screen, and if I go into File Manager, and it's refreshed into the view here. This tool is very good because it gives you a full uncompressed image, unlike here that it's slightly distorted. The only problem is that it can be very slow and you can't capture video. The other option is to use your own screen capture. The downside is that it may compress and it's much harder. But it's also nice because it captures full video. To do that, make sure you select only the area of the emulator, not the whole screen. And thank you for watching my tutorial on screencasting for open intent Android apps.